When you think about your retirement, have you ever considered how it might actually make you feel? Not your finances and not your house. I'm talking about your emotions. What this transaction in life might actually feel like. Because in my experience, I see a lot of people who get caught completely off guard. Hi, my name is Casey, and I'm a realtor here in Southern California. And I specialize in helping people buy and sell homes in 55 and older communities like Trilogy at Glen Ivy and Terramor here in Corona. And when I help seniors, it's usually during a major transition in their lives. Some are at the point where they're ready to finally retire, and others are considering downsizing to a smaller home. And some people are actually trying to do both of these things at the exact same time. And honestly, most people are really excited about this transition, and they're ready to move on to that next chapter in life. But during this journey, some people get hit with an overwhelming feeling of emotions, and here's why I think that happens. First, I think a lot of people feel that they're actually losing their sense of identity, because for 30 or 40 years, their job was a big part of who they were, and then just overnight, it's all gone. Plus, if part of your retirement plan is to actually downsize your home, you're leaving behind a house where your kids grew up and where your family made their memories. And this can feel like a lot more than just a simple move. It can actually feel like a loss. And when both of these emotions hit at the exact same time, it can be very overwhelming. And a lot of people tell me that nobody ever warned them about these emotions. Nobody ever mentioned that the feelings were coming or that they were completely normal. So today, I want to be that person for you. I want you to know that a lot of people have these emotions. So you're definitely not alone on this one. So let me show you what I've seen over the years. And first, let's talk about that loss of your work identity. And this one actually surprises people the most. But when someone retires, it's not uncommon for them to feel a loss of who they were at work. But think about it. For 30 or 40 years, when you met someone, the first thing they asked you was, "So what do you do for a living?" And you had an answer. You had a title, a schedule, and a routine. And this gave you a structure and a purpose and actually a reason to get up in the morning. And then one day, on retirement day, all of this just stops. And I've talked to a lot of people who were genuinely excited about retirement. They actually counted down the days. But then just a few months into it, some end up feeling that retirement just wasn't what they expected. And not because something went wrong, but because for the first time in decades, they didn't have a career or a job telling them who they were or why they mattered anymore. Now, some people get past this feeling very quickly. They find a new routine, a new purpose, and new ways of staying connected to something meaningful. But for others, it takes time. And the people who struggle the most are usually the ones who didn't expect to feel this way, because they thought that retirement was supposed to be that feeling of freedom right from the start. And it will, eventually. But you need to understand it's not the same for everyone, and getting there can actually be a process. And next, many people get very emotional about leaving their family home. And if you're downsizing, you might be moving into a beautiful community. You might be excited about the next chapter, but at the same time, you're leaving behind the house where your kids grew up, where you hosted holidays for the last 25 or 30 years. And that place holds something that no list of amenities can replace, and that's your memories. And I've had several clients tell me that as they walk through their empty house for one last time before handing over the keys, they completely broke down. And what I've noticed, both as a realtor and as someone who's actually gone through it myself, is that this can be a really emotional time in your life. And I have to be honest, when we walked through our family home for the last time, it hit me hard. I had second thoughts. I questioned our decisions, and I worried that I'd just made a huge mistake. And even though I really expected to be happy and excited, I wasn't. But thankfully, these feelings passed. And after helping others through this same transition, I realized that a lot of people end up feeling the same way I did. Now, real quick before we move on, if this video is hitting close to home for you, I'd love if you consider subscribing to my channel. Now, I post every week about the real side of buying and selling homes for seniors, not just the financial side, but the things that actually affect your daily life. So if this sounds like something for you, I'd appreciate if you hit that subscribe button down below. Okay, so let's keep going. And here's where it can get really overwhelming. And that's when you're actually trying to do both of these things at the same time, the combination of retiring and downsizing. And honestly, I see a lot of people doing these two things together, but it can really be hard because you're not just adjusting to a new address, you're adjusting to a new identity too. You're building social connections from scratch in a brand new place. You're actually trying to figure out what your days are going to look like without a work schedule or a calendar. And you're doing all of it while trying to process the feeling of leaving a home and a chapter of your life behind you. But it's important to remember that what you're feeling is completely normal. It doesn't mean you made a mistake. And it doesn't mean that your new home or community is the wrong one for you. It just means that you're human. And in my experience, most people start to find their footing somewhere between that 6 and 12-month mark. The ones who do best are usually the ones who give themselves time to adjust. The ones that actually lean into the new community even when it felt a little awkward. They're the ones who signed up for a club, or showed up to a class, or just started up a conversation with a neighbor. It doesn't take much, but it does take some effort and some time. But I'm curious, for the people that have actually gone through this transition, what was the hardest part for you? Was it leaving behind your identity at work? Was it leaving your family home? Or was it something else entirely? I'd love to hear what you think. And if someone you know is going through this right now, I'd love if you'd share this video with them. Sometimes just knowing that you're not alone and that this happens to other people too can make a big difference. And if you're trying to figure out whether a 55 and older community is right for you, emotionally or financially, I'd love to have a conversation. And I'll put my contact information up on the screen, and feel free to call or text me anytime. Because at this stage of life, it's not just about buying a home. It's about making a decision that gives you peace of mind and makes sense for this stage of your life. Now, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.